One of the benefits of just dissociating yourself with a single camp is that you get to watch people in every single circle tear themselves into shreds and fight each other over, policies where there is complication. And one of the best examples here is Bernie Sanders. I know I've been doing a lot of stuff on Bernie, but I think he's going to be sucking a lot of the oxygen out of the room, and he's going to have a lot of he's going to cast a huge shadow over the 2020 election going forward. But over here, I don't see what to object to. Okay, he just says the people of Venezuela are enduring a serious humanitarian crisis. The Maduro government must put the needs of its people first, allow humanitarian aid into the country, and refrain from violence against protesters. So Jimmy Dore, whose show I sometimes take, I like some of his videos. I think he does point out a lot of problems with media commentary, and he goes and dumps on Bernie Sanders, saying, super sad to see Bernie continues to repeat CIA talking points and propaganda. He is repeating the words and narratives of war criminals that first must convince people that another oil-rich nation is ruled by a dictator and needs invading. Why he does this shit is anybody's guess. So I want to understand what was wrong with what Sanders said. Venezuela is enduring a serious humanitarian crisis. I saw one report that the hardship there has caused 3 million people to emigrate. Okay, somebody actually talked to me today. He said that he has friends and family from there. He's not from Venezuela himself. He's from Argentina. But he said, yeah, they've basically had to leave, and a lot of Venezuelans would want basically Maduro to be just killed. Okay, one thing we discussed, I said, I don't want American intervention there. So we said the best option would be if Russia just killed Maduro themselves and put in like a reasonable puppet there. This is the thing. I don't think that Russia is destroying other countries and making them uninhabitable. I think sometimes Russia is a stabilizing influence. If you look at Central Asia, for example, some of those countries just don't have a tradition of having any institution of government prior to being conquered by Russia, and they have fine relationships with Russia. They don't have perfect relationships, but they have working relationships with Russia. And the fact is that Vladimir Putin could actually be the person who would do the right thing here. And I don't see him doing it. But in any case, Jimmy Dore, he goes in on him, and so he puts in this Roger Waters quote. So Roger Waters, I think, is one of the most skeevy activists out there. For those of you that don't know, Waters is a leader of the BDS movement worldwide, and he's all about this boycott of Israel, which, he has every right to decide where he wants to perform or not. What he doesn't have a right to do is to go to other musicians and basically tell them, if you don't pull out of your gigs in Israel, I'm going to send my activists to your shows to harass you and basically make you, try to pressure you and essentially, force you to take the same position as me. That's what he did with Radiohead, and he's done it with other musicians. And they've said that they've received communications from him telling them what to do, and they say, look, we're gonna perform wherever the hell we want, and you can't tell us not to. So that's one of the reasons I think that Roger Waters embodies the type of mentality that Jimmy Dore and his friends, are a part of, which is that the left is always right, even when it's oppressing other people. They'll point out oppression from governments that they don't like, but they have absolutely no problem with oppression from the governments that they are sympathetic to. So then you have Ali Abunimah commenting here. He's from Electronic Intifada, which is, a very pro-Palestine website, obviously. But, he's saying that Sanders is a bad foreign policy expert. And then somebody put here, I like this one. It's the Kyle Kalinske gif here.
What the fuck are you doing? Bernie, what the fuck are you doing?
It is funny, but a lot of these left wing people are dumping on Bernie Sanders because of this. But plenty of people are saying, look, it's okay to say to Maduro that he should let humanitarian aid into the country. And I have to agree that even if you're one of these people who is saying that Maduro should stay in power, how can you argue that importing medicine or letting medicines come in, letting foodstuffs come into the country where people are basically scrounging in the garbage to eat, how can you be opposed to that? The only answer is that you support the system above the interests of the citizens. And that's really the mentality of people on the far anti-war left. Okay, opposing the war is something I agree with. Opposing U.S. intervention in a war, I agree with even more. Okay, I have no problem personally with Colombia or Brazil invading Venezuela at this point. By the way, those of you that don't know, Venezuela for over a decade supported guerrilla forces that were trying to overthrow the Colombian government. So why is Colombia any worse than Venezuela? If Venezuela could do it to Colombia, why not the other way around? So the fact is that according to these reports, now it is from Bloomberg, and I know Bloomberg is not always a great source, but the Venezuelan government did burn some of these aid convoys. And it's irrational, and it would actually make more sense if they just stole the aid, because at least at least somebody's going to get it. These National Guard people would probably end up selling it for a premium on the black market, and that would make a little sense, even though it is kind of an asshole thing to do. But they ended up burning some of these trucks, which is just mind blowing. I mean, it's not. Why do we have to continue to see this type of thing unfold? Because we have somebody who wants to stay in power. That's the mentality. By the way, in Venezuela, it's not the same as in Syria. Okay, in Syria, you can make the case that Bashar al-Assad was holding back the floodgates against jihad, if he wanted to. Now, the fact is that he sort of invited the jihadists to rise up because he was killing a lot of people anyway. So in many cases, people turned to ISIS, turned to similar groups besides ISIS as a result of the government, restricting their freedoms. Okay, it's a circular process. Okay, in countries where there's very limited freedom for people who are religious, of a religious strain, a lot of them do turn to extremism, and it's something that people on the left used to talk about themselves when it came to Al Qaeda, when it came to things like that. And Russia itself has had issues with jihadism in Chechnya, where originally Chechnya was not a jihadist hangout, but eventually, because Russia continued to go in there and just destroy entire swathes of the country, a lot of Chechens turned to jihad. Okay, it doesn't justify the things that these terrorist groups do, like take over a school and murder lots of children, like they did in Beslan, like a few years back. It's just an explanation. So you have people who are defecting from Venezuela. It's apparently, it's become a thing now. I don't think it's really going to affect the function of the Venezuelan government unless it becomes much more of a mass movement. According to the Bloomberg article, 60 members of the Venezuelan armed forces and police have defected to Colombia, which it's not that many people. So what would end up happening is this: unless there's a major schism within the Venezuelan army and Maduro is overthrown within, the Venezuelan people are going to be in for a lot more pain and suffering in the short run. And then in the long run, Maduro could just like fortify his regime using Russian and Chinese help, okay, because they have a stake in Venezuela. And the country could just keep chugging on as it is, just getting worse and worse. Or Venezuela could be invaded by Brazil and Colombia, or one of them. But I don't think that you're really seeing the signs yet of the regime falling apart the way that many predicted. Now, they're not going to get stronger, and I think over time you're going to see that there's going to be virtually no internal support for Maduro going forward. Okay, everything that he is everything that sustains him is provided by his allies, his economic supporters. Okay, so that's about it. I think it's important just to keep a level head, not to try to rush into one side because of ideology. Okay, I think that those of you that want the U.S. to intervene in Venezuela, think about how many times we've directly intervened in some of these countries. I mean, and when I was a kid, we sent troops to Haiti, and it didn't fix the country. Okay, it's just not as simple as you would think. Running a country is not as simple as putting a few people with uniforms to guard centers of food distribution and stuff like that. So that's about it. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy your Sunday. Subscribe to me on BitChute and CocoScope, by the way. Good night.